Very rarely any place else in America has ever seen 10 to 15 feet.
So if I'm about 8 blocks from the Gulf contact here with Naples, what do you think the chance is that they get water coming this way? Because this would be the main artery. This is a road that goes right down to the water's edge. This is where the marina is. Am I right about that? Chuck, this road, if we follow it all the way down, how close to the marina, to the water do you get?
I think we're less than about a mile.
From here to the water is about a mile? And this would be a straight conduit all the way to it?
Ask him how many feet above sea level he is.
He lives here.
How many feet
How
above
many
sea
feet
level?
above sea level do you think?
I think, what do you guys think, 5 feet? I think about 5 feet right here, about 5 feet.
You think you're about 5 feet above sea level right here? Chad, do you hear me?
Yes, the water's coming. The water isn't coming like a tsunami.
So you think the water's going to come to where we are?
I do. I do, especially when the wind blows it that way as well. You got to think about this. Not only is there a swell under the storm itself, but there's going to be wind to project it, to move it your way. And it will propel all the way up that street, if that is a straight shot to the ocean, because that's the direction the wind is going to be coming from.
So Chuck, Chad says if we're at about 5 feet, that storm surge that sucked the water out of the bay down there, that it's going to be coming at least this far. Where's your house?
I live in Houston. I just in Hurricane Harvey. I just came to Houston.
All right, so you're here hanging out, and you got a big knife on your hip. So the water's going to come this far at least, and that's something to remember. And no, we will not venture down there. And you do see people coming out. There's curiosity, obviously. You have a lot of locals here and store owners who we were talking to before the storm. They were worried, Chad. You know, people worry about their businesses. They worry about their livelihood, and there is a temptation to want to get out as soon as possible. There's also a ton of media, and what you always hope in these situations is that the people you see out early are just media. But you do feel that it can come to where we are, huh?
Oh, no question about it. Now, let's just project this a little bit forward to others in the path. What we showed on television just 30 minutes ago is already and still happening north of you. So I know it looks like, oh, it's over. Well, yes, it's over where you are.
No, right.
But it is not over for Bonita Springs. You are in it right now. Naples Park, which is about 10 miles north of you, in it right now, in the northern eye wall. And that eye wall, again, will continue all the way to Sarasota, all the way to Anna Marie, until it finally either dies out because of contact with dry land, or it goes back out into the ocean and kind of stays with us all the way to Tampa and Hillsborough. What is that car doing?
Right, but it's about what you're choosing from, Chad, on that menu of suck that Hurricane Irma is bringing our way. I mean, you have you have those winds and all that drama, but then you have that storm surge, which is of acute concern to all of these different pockets of communities on the West Coast, because that's what can create not just a second phase, because it gets you with that surprise effect, but that is what can create the real property damage and the real threats to locking people in place, right?
Absolutely. It's the water that will kill you. We call it a storm surge. What it is a flash flood, and it's a 15-foot flash flood that comes from the ocean, and clearly these people didn't know about it or don't know about it. Chris, I have a question for you. You have a cell phone on you, right? Your phone is working?
Yeah, you know, my whole pocket is filled with water.
Okay,
that was a tough reminder, but thanks, Chad. Yeah, I do.
Did you ever...
What do you want to know?
Did you ever today get an alert on your phone that said flash flood emergency in your area? It should have made it loud. It should have made it loud now. Okay.
My phone is not 100%, Chad, and not surprising because I've had it in my pocket during a hurricane. But
I get it.
We didn't get any alerts. Any of the people around us didn't get any flash flood alerts. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have known what that was. To me, I would have thought it was the storm surge because that water came out of nowhere. But then you told me it was flash flood, and I don't want to have death by Escalade here.
Yeah, I see.
That was that standing water, and now it's gone almost as fast as it came. Now, my question to you is, how about the storm surge? Will that go as quickly as it comes? What are the factors that go into that?
The surge will last as long as the water pushes it on land, and certainly that surge will be where you are, I believe. If you're only 5 feet above sea level, then you will be standing in water up to your waist, if not more. And I know you'll get out of there before that. But I would say that's going to last at least 3 to 4 hours. Now, we think about, because look how calm the water is other than the Cadillac just driving through it. That water that comes in is not going to be calm because it's going to be pushed by a gust of 110 miles per hour. So there will be waves on top of that 10-foot surge as soon as it gets into that downtown. And I don't have any contact with Marco Island right now. I have tried, I have looked, I haven't seen, because they would have already been seeing this surge. It would be there. It will be. It is there right now. I just don't know how bad it is. The same surge that we saw with Katrina, even though Katrina was only a Cat 3, Cat 4 almost at landfall, because it was a Cat 5 for so long in its life, it built this surge. It built this bubble. This storm built a bubble, and now it is unleashing it. And, you know, Chris, I want you.
If there's any wind that starts coming in any dramatic fashion.
All right.
Dramatic fashion.
All right.
A couple things. You said that it'll be about 3 to 4 hours surge that they'll have to deal with before that starts to recede. That's an important function of time for people. We're starting to get some light rain here again. Ed Lavandera, we were just talking about that island. What's the name of the island again, Chad?
Marco Island.
Marco Island. Ed Lavandera, you were in touch with the police chief there. Have you heard from him? And if not, can you try to get in touch with them and try and get some update of what's going on Marco Island?
We have been doing that, Chris. We've sent a couple of text messages. The last time I communicated with him, the eye of the storm, they were in the thick of it, and he had described that they were on backup radio power. They had lost power, no water, but then they were on backup using backup radios to communicate to the 80 first responders that had stayed behind and were riding out the storm there on that island. But since then, I have not heard back. I've sent him a couple of messages, hoping to hear back from him soon to kind of get a better sense. He was confident that they would be able to withstand the worst of the storm, but obviously this is a very important time for them. That eye is a chance for them to kind of survey and work quickly to figure out what kind of damage and what kind of situation that they're in. So he's got much more important things to do right now. He will, I suspect if he can, he will get back to us as quickly as possible. This is the scene here in downtown Naples. You can see what a chainsaw this storm was. We're about a couple hundred yards away from where we were reporting from just a little while ago. This is Cambier Park in downtown Naples, and you can just see how much devastation this hurricane has brought here through the Naples area. Of course, we're very limited. We don't have a lot of time to be able to kind of get out and survey. So knowing that the back half of this storm is approaching, we kind of venture out as quickly as possible. Look at this palm tree here, just sawed in half and collapsing over. This is that area by the outdoor pavilion, kind of a concert area that I was talking about if you were watching over the course of the last few hours. And if you look back here, this is the pavilion and the tarp that was on top of this structure outside. I thought for sure this was going to come shredding apart in the winds that we experienced. But from what I can tell, for the most part, that held on. Obviously, the trees here in this park is simply another story. And given how long and how intense the winds were for the better part of 2 hours, the buildings that we're surrounded by, if we walk back this way, Chris, I can show you one of the, as we were standing out here.
On this, all right? Here's 8 blocks away, and this is about, you look at the yellow curb here at 5th Avenue South and Park Street, and you're at about 8 inches to 10 inches of water, okay, right here. And as you can see, the buildings are fine. That part of the integrities are right. You got your typical debris here from that gusting. But when you look down the street, you see that there's been breach there, at least on one side of the street. The water has gotten into the buildings, and it's got to be well over a foot or so deep, and that's still 6.5, 7 blocks from the marina. So how does that fill in the blanks for you?
What that is freshwater flooding. That is the rain that came down and went into the lowest part of that city, and that is all fresh water. that has no salinity content in it whatsoever, because the water that is from the salinity from the ocean, the Gulf of Mexico, has not truly arrived yet. We've been watching the quick rise from the tidal gauges in Naples. A brand new flash flood emergency for Naples just issued about 5 minutes ago, and so the water is still at the mean sea level right now, but it is quickly rising, and it will rise 10 to 15 feet. I mean, this is almost waiting for a tsunami, although it won't be a tidal wave. It'll be a surge where one wave that comes up that street, if you're at the right level, I don't know what your elevation is there, but if you are at any elevation that is, let's say, 5 feet above sea level, you will see 5 feet or 10 feet on top of that. The one wave will come in. It'll be kind of a wash, like a wave without a crest or a curl, and then that will stay. And then the next wave will come in, and the first one won't go away like it usually does at the seashore. The next wave's going to come in, and it won't go away. And then the next wave's going to come in, and it won't go away. And this is not what you want to do.
Yeah. You
do not want to be out with your dog,
Chad,
when the water's coming up.
So, yeah, no, Chad, he's got his three-legged dog. He says he's lucky. Hold on. Hey! Hey, pal! He's walking his dog. We saw him last night. I see you're out with the dog again. You got to get back inside, pal. We got the backside of the storm still to come. The surge isn't here yet. Please get back in. I'll come find you after. All right, now most of the people here, Chad, there's a lot of media. The good news is, again, they believe that most of who needed to evacuate did. We saw that local last night. Nice guy, three-legged dog. You know, he's one of these salty types who's been here for a long time, says he knows storms, he knows what to worry about and what not to. But, you know, he's probably thinking what I was, Chad, which is, all right, so here's that surge they were telling us about. Wasn't as bad. But you're saying we haven't even seen it yet, that this is just like a little bit. This is just a little bit of an advantage. This is just a little bit of a runway for the surge. Like, it can just follow this water. Isn't that going to make it easier for the surge to penetrate if there's already, you know, if it's already liquid all the way up the road?
Yes, absolutely, no question. This now ground is already saturated. Not that it was going to soak in at all anyway, but the surge coming in from the ocean will even be quicker because we'll see this rain that is now going to mix with the salt water just continue to make the flood even worse.
Interrupt you for 1 second?
Go ahead.
Chad.
Go.
Do me a favor. Keep talking people through about what's going to happen next. I'm going to go down to the street level so we can figure out, you know, what this means, and I can get a better set of eyes for you on the road. So Dave's going to keep giving you the shot. I'll be out of it for a second, so just keep talking. Don't worry. I'll be right back in a minute, okay?
Fair enough, sir. Okay, so here's what I would like to show you, anyone who's still in Naples. We'll come back to the weather wall here on camera 1. All of a sudden, the spike from the Naples tidal gauge is here. The spike that we anticipated for the entire day has now arrived. It's because the eye wall itself has gone by. All of the forces of the wind that pushing the water out, all those forces are now gone. And so therefore, the eye itself will begin to bring the water back up. And when you get on the back side of the eye, that's when the water is going to spike. I guess we cannot get this shot right now, but I will get it to you. I promise, because it's an impressive spike in the tidal gauge right here at Naples. We will get to this right after this break.
Reporting part of the